Hey everybody, welcome to the VR Game Night Show. My name is Sir Gray, and I'm joined by my co-host, like I am every week, Sir Aga or Agaskacles. How you doing, Agaskacles?
I'm good. I'm back from vacation. I actually took off with my travel laptop, so I was pretty satisfied with its overall performance during the trip. Played a bunch of Destiny 2,
Oh,
and I've been
nice.
playing a bunch of the Division 2 since I've been back. So we are game ready. I am also at a kind of new but old setup tonight. So yeah, things are pretty good. It's a good hardware time.
Well, I moved, but I didn't finish my setup, so I had some posters I was going to put up. This area is a lot better than my last area, so
Okay.
it's kind of out of the way, and I'm trying to make a bigger VR space here in my game room.
Okay.
And so
Nice.
it's all tore up. There's like bookcases half dismantled and all that. But in any case, we are here on our new channel, a dedicated VR Game Nights channel. And we're not live streaming tonight because of all the new stuff we're doing. So you guys are not watching live. You're watching after the fact. You're watching the replay. But it feels like live, doesn't it? It's like you're right here with us. In any case, we're going to cover all of the news in the VR world. Well, all the news that popped out to us. If you think we missed something, let us know. We're going to cover it all tonight. And before we get started, Sir Aga, is there anything that because we hadn't been here. This is like we were on hiatus last week for the 4th of
Yeah.
July. Is there anything, do you have a lead story you want to lead with? Or do you want me to just jump into the links we have in our show notes?
You could just jump in. It actually felt like a fairly light um, week of VR news, 2 weeks of VR news. Seems like they've kind of settled down. Um, it's a lot like the rest of the gaming industry, right? So like VR's big thing was in May, and then the game industry's big thing was in June, and now it's kind of like just shut up and show me the money, right? Until you show up with with the next whiz bang thing. Let's just play with what we've got. So
Well, we got a big game coming out. I think tomorrow. Defector. I'm gonna pick it up. I'm hoping to have some time to play it tomorrow. But that's the new spy thriller, single player AAA game for the Oculus Rift and Rift S. So that's an exclusive. I mean, it's there are similar games to it on the PlayStation that look awesome, but I don't have PlayStation VR. I get a PlayStation 4, but not PlayStation VR. So in any case, besides that, let's just jump right into our stories, and I'm gonna pull up the first one here. And man, this feels like salt in the wound. I tell you. The first story is there's rumors that the next Xbox is going to support the Rift S, which to me that makes a lot of sense. But the downside is why do they spend $500 on an Xbox One X? But had you heard this? This story?
I had not, and I find it's weird. I don't. Part of me finds it surprising that this is the bet Microsoft would make, but there's a very strong relationship between Microsoft and Facebook, really, that goes back to Bill Gates investing money, really in Mark Zuckerberg, right? Not even it wasn't really even so much a company to company thing. It was really a matter of personalities and things Gates saw in Zuck. Um, so I mean, I guess if you're going to do VR, it's interesting because there's a story that I saw that I didn't pick out because I thought we had talked about it before,
Okay.
but it seems like it resurfaced. This whole thing about Windows mixed reality headsets being, I was going to say virtually. I realize that's probably not an adjective that we should use on a virtual reality show, but that they're pretty much all sold out on the Microsoft Store,
Yeah.
and in lots of other places. So if Microsoft has decided that, hey, we shouldn't bet on these WMR headsets, then I guess Oculus is the bet that you make. I mean, who else? Like Valve is slightly antagonistic towards you. Um, HTC, I mean, HTC just seems like it takes one, puff of breath from the big bad wolf on any given Sunday, and HTC could just topple over. So if you're going to make a bet, like where else are you going to go other than with the company that kind of like is out there on the cutting edge of technology and is always pushing the envelope, but also has the financial stability to give you that assurance that they can be a long term bet.
Well, and Microsoft partnered with Oculus to provide an Xbox One controller with the Rift. The package I bought, that was before the Touch was out, had the Xbox One controller in it, and at the same time they created an Oculus app that would allow you to play your Xbox games, right? But kind of like in a virtual big screen.
Okay.
And they also had a special connection with Minecraft. So I got Minecraft. I owned it on the PC, but for some reason I got it with my Rift too. So I have it in the, I got it when I got my Rift. I don't know if I got it for free or it was kind of weird. But
Yeah.
so there's been that partnership. But this goes back to when the Xbox One X was coming out. To me, it was a no-brainer. Now I have two Windows mixed reality headsets. They're good. They're really good. And as MRTV showed, the tracking is not as bad as everybody says it is. I mean, he
Right.
did some extreme tests on it, and it did very well. So, I would have thought they would have just said, hey, we're going to support all these Windows mixed reality headsets with the Xbox One X, but they didn't. And if they really do go with the Rift S, and not that I'm saying it's a bad choice, remember, right now the Rift S has the lowest required specs of any new headset, any 2019 headset, right? Lower specs than the Index, lower specs than the Reverb, and probably from what we know about the Cosmos, lower PC specs than the Cosmos.
What's
So it's
interesting
unique in that way.
What's interesting to me is we just talked about that Halo, virtual reality road trip story a couple of weeks ago, and I haven't sat there and like paused the YouTube video or played it back at 0.25 speed, which I guess need to do at some point. But the one headset that I caught in the quick blur of where you see the squad lining up is a Vive headset. So it's just kind of interesting. You would think that, well, if this were the way that you're going and you got this traveling road show going all over the country with the Halo virtual reality experience, that maybe you would be demoing that with the Rift S. It's just interesting. I find it also interesting that they're talking about the Project Scarlet coming with a DisplayPort connection, which is just highly interesting. Because I guess I would hope that the only thing they would expect you to plug into that would be a virtual reality headset. Although more and more, particularly in the streaming community, I hear about people moving their Xbox Ones and putting it on the desk with their gaming PC or streaming PC, and just utilizing it with their PC monitors. So,
Yeah,
which
and we've been talking about, you and I've been talking about HDMI versus DisplayPort. I was kind of like, hey, let's just stay with HDMI. But DisplayPort definitely has the advantage. HDMI tries to catch up, but that kind of brings us to our next story here. And this talks about DisplayPort 2.0 supports dual 4K VR displays at 120 hertz, and that's really what we need, right? I think that's what we need for the maybe not second gen but third gen headsets. We will need that type of bandwidth. Now, there's no video card that can pump that out today. No commercial, home video card that can pump that out today, but that's the bandwidth we need built in, and that's uncompressed. My understanding is. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, like I said, I deliberately passed that WMR headset story because I thought it had come across our windshield before. There was another one that I passed up putting in the rundown, and I want to say I saw something about somebody creating a new display link bus because I've pitched this idea that I feel like what we really need, like you've mentioned how you have these needs and desires, and I'm like, but the GPU market just isn't there, and VR hasn't created enough demand. And I'm like, what VR is really ripe for is one of these innovations that we've seen before, where somebody goes, look, where somebody like a Valve goes, look, we're building this $1,000 headset. The current tech that it has dependencies on is just not where we need it to be. We're going to introduce our own technology to support our headset, and comes up with some type of virtual reality PCIe bus link or something that is specifically tailored to meet the needs of VR, that is then a fab, that somebody else can license and put in their own motherboard, right? Or an add-on card or something. I saw something today that came across my windshield about an advanced display link spec that would support specifically was being designed around supporting VR that I think would go hand in hand with this DisplayPort 2.0 capability. Because of course the problem is that's great that the port spec supports it, but we need GPUs that support it, and we need an efficient data transfer across the PCIe Express bus. Now, of course, PCI Express today is not saturated by even the next generation CPUs or GPUs that are coming online. Um, but
And what's the
but
new? Isn't there? Aren't we on? Aren't they talking about X4 now? Is everything I'm seeing with all the new AMD stuff supports PCI? What is the new latest and greatest? It's like
so there's
everybody's saying
still
we support this now. The new. I don't
there's
know if
still
it's.
it's still PCIe Express X16. Um, uh,
There's some new generation of that, and I'm not prepared to talk about that tonight. That everybody's
yeah,
saying, hey, we support this now, and I don't know that a lot of people would have any. There's no hardware for that enhanced bus yet. But
no, yeah, there is some future proof technology that's a next generation for just it's not. I think I know what you're talking about, but it's not springing to the forefront of my mind right now.
yeah, I think we'll have to come back maybe in a couple months after the market. We get the supers that have come out from Nvidia. We get all the new AMD parts that have come out or coming out this month. So probably in a couple of months we'll have seen enough reviews. I know we've been throwing the reviews back and forth to kind of go through it and say, okay, here's your Nvidia build, here's your AMD build. But I think, I want to bounce back to, if you don't mind, I want to bounce back to Oculus because now here's another story, right? Job listing posts to eye tracking and their next gen products. So, I mean, there are products out today with eye tracking, but they're very expensive. Um,
Well, and there's eye tracking technology. If you remember, one of the things I constantly complain about is there's eye tracking technology in Project Cars, which in Project Cars you can't turn off, which drives me nuts because I have allergies and so I blink a lot inside a headset, and it's constantly setting off the menu. In Project Cars 2, you can disable eye tracking. So I'm curious. I'm very interested to know and get a better understanding on what is the difference between application level eye tracking, which clearly is it Mad Dog Studios or that does. I'm forgetting the name of the Project Cars guys right now. What's the difference in the application level eye tracking that they've implemented versus this bus level or system level eye tracking that Oculus is talking about implementing?
yeah, and I think I'm going to guess, and I don't know, would you agree with that they're doing it for foveated rendering? So they're doing it so that they know where your eyeballs are looking so they can render that really crisp
I see. I got you.
and let the peripheral be rendered a little to lower the amount of CPU or GPU cycles needed to render a scene. I'm guessing on that because right now, even the index, there's a sweet spot when you look straight ahead. And if you look as you look to the edge, and the guys that
Right.
tested talk about this in great detail, you lose your clarity. Of course, don't look like that. You want to look like this, or try not to do
now,
that.
now, one thing I want to ask you is: do you think HTC is already pulling this with the next Vive that's coming out? Because the new Vive that's coming out, and I'm forgetting the name off the top of my head, starts with a
Cosmos.
C.
Yep.
Cosmos. The new Cosmos has those two cameras that are has those two camera mount points that are part of the plug and play face cover that you can put on. And so there's a possibility that there will be different versions of that with different numbers of cameras that plug in. And so I'm curious if those multiple cameras are going to have this something similar to this eye tracking technology, possibly.
You know, they have said that they want this Cosmos to be modular. And if I was them, I would definitely make like if you go back, if you look at the original Pimax Kickstarter, they had like an eye tracking module as one of their stretch goals that it was really modular, just kind of plugged right into the headset, right? And so if I was them, I would definitely make a modular add-on. I think the problem is, I think the problem with the Index is I would have added two more cameras and included inside-out tracking, even if it made the thing cost $599, right? because the base stations and the Knuckles controllers, I mean, we're talking a ton of money. We're talking $1,000 for the whole thing. I mean, it'd be nice just to buy the headset. You know what I'm saying? Um, but in any case, we'll see. They do have the Vive Pro I, but they're targeting the commercial market, the industrial market. Well, really the commercial market, right? And I think they pretty much own all of the everything. Most of what I've seen for the V arcades um, have been Vives. They let you buy it as a business with the extended warranty and all of that. So, but yeah, good, very interesting. I want to know more about the Cosmos, but I'm not nearly excited about it now as I was because it's really the same, very very close to the same resolution of the Odyssey Plus, the Index, um, and the original Odyssey. So it's kind of in that Gen 1.5 resolution.
Right.
So, but we don't know the price either. So they said it's not $900. Does it make it? Is it 849? Tough to tell. Tough to tell. But that brings us to our next story, my friend, and that would be um. Oh, it was deleted, so I'll move right along. Let's see. Oh, so what do you think about this? This is some people are interpreting the Gran Turismo next game uh, verbiage to kind of hint towards some VR support.
Yeah, so this is an amazing instance where I dropped the Gran Turismo story into the newsfeed for any podcast. I have been well on record as being not particularly high in my consideration of that studio, which for some reason Sony Interactive Entertainment seems to allow to do whatever the heck it is that they want to do, including like often only releasing one iteration of Gran Turismo in a console generation. Sometimes after that console has hit its maximum uptake point of the curve. So in this console generation, that release not being that great, while the Forza and Forza Horizon teams release like 8 versions of that game. So now yet another thing to hang up this development team in finally getting out the next iteration of Gran Turismo is that they may be including VR capability. Now, from a strategic business position, this makes sense. Gran Turismo is regardless of how well the game is done from a technical perspective, is often lauded as a flagship game that leverages the full power of whatever generation of console Sony is on. They are clearly making a big push for PSVR because it is a differentiator in their platform, not just against Xbox, but really with regards to PC, because regardless of the level of its fidelity, first of all, the fact of the matter is that somebody who is buying a PlayStation VR and looking at PlayStation 4 or 5 and looking at that being their VR solution is somebody who's probably not in the market to spend as much as we do for PC-based VR solutions. So, it becomes a low-cost entry point for VR for a PlayStation customer and as a differentiator to Xbox. It makes sense that you would then align um, your most lavish technical achievement in terms of game implementation with your key technology differentiator or one of your key technology differentiators. So it's going to be interesting if they do that. And again, it's going to, Gran Turismo is a series that I believe has seen a wane in its degree of demand from customers for that particular title. This could be a way to kind of reinvigorate demand for it in sales and a return, from some of your PlayStation loyalists to the franchise.
Yeah, and I think as far as I look at it, if they do it like Project Cars, where you buy this awesome racing game, oh, you happen to have PSVR? Okay, you can play it. We aren't using that. I think that would be a home run. But if they just have like one track or one level, or I mean, I'm not saying that wouldn't be great if that was a free, if you get to experience it, right?
No,
but
I
it's not
laugh
a home
because
run. It does not sell copies of the game, in my opinion.
right. No, I laugh because that is exactly the type of shenanigans that Sony has this series. Like I played Gran Turismo 5 and Gran Turismo 6 recently as part of my live stream series, and I was like, I went, part of my monologue then was I went over the history of that thing across PlayStation 3, and like it was supposed to be a launch title, and then it wasn't ready for launch, and then they dropped this goofy one track, one car demo, and then there was an expanded thing. I was like, there were like three releases of the thing before the full game was ready, and I could very well see Sony doing a Project Cars, a Gran Turismo VR tech demo thing as a holdover, for the ridiculously long 10-year development cycle that these guys need to get a game put out. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. But I will admit, I mean, it could though be the killer app for PlayStation VR for PlayStation 5. I mean, if you really think about it, again, this is where a solid racing title is one of the staple 5 titles that you need in a new console launch. Gran Turismo has failed to be that for at least 2 generations. If they're winding themselves up to nail that for the PlayStation 5 release, and if it is VR capable, that could be a grand slam, right? You launch but they said they're not going to launch the next generation PSVR, but you could still launch PlayStation 5, have current generation PlayStation VR available, and have one of the launch titles be Gran Turismo, 2020, which is VR capable, and you buy it all. Your $60 gets you the game that has a standard 2D/3D mode plus a VR mode. That might almost push me in a certain purchasing direction for PlayStation 5 because I love me some racing games and I can't lay off of them. So
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. Now, this next one we're going to talk about, this next game, they actually contacted us at the channel. They dropped us an email and they told us, hey, check this out. And I did. Now, I had heard about this game months ago, but it was a great reminder. I appreciate them reaching out to us. And I actually chatted with one of the developers over on Reddit. And I'm pretty excited about this game now. This is the Astrobot's homepage. In the show notes, we'll have this is Aerobots. I'm sorry, Aerobots. I think I gotta put my glasses on to see. I think it's Aerobots. Aerobots. This is what happens when you get old. Aerobotsvr.com. That's the website.
Ooh, okay.
So this and what's going on behind us isn't really. These are some of the maps you play on, but it really does not show in the gameplay. Basically, you take control of a bot, and it's like Unreal Tournament. And it's cool. One of the things I loved about Unreal Tournament, and this is for a lot of kids out there, if you're watching, you probably don't know this. You have to talk to your grandpas, like my grandkids have to talk to me. But one of the cool things about Unreal Tournament was there was no penalty for running backwards. And so the best players, like myself, we ran backwards. Right? You learned the map enough where you could, because people were trying to chase you down. As soon as you were in the lead, they had to hunt you down because they had to, knock your squad down, or else you were going to win. And the aerial combat on this in the real trailer is pretty amazing. It looks fun. It wasn't vulgar. It wasn't gory. Okay, so this is I'm sure it's going to be T plus. It's not going to be an M or an X-rated game. But it looked like a lot of fun, right? And I was talking to them on Reddit, and they were saying that there definitely will be co-op, more than 2 play. I said we got 4 guys who play. They said definitely you'll be able to play co-op, plus you'll be able to play team games against bots. So your 4 buddies can play against 4 bots in team deathmatch or capture the flag. And so I was like, sold. So this one is on my radar. I want to encourage everybody to check out again, this is just the webpage homepage. Check out the video for this. It's very, very cool. And had you seen this before?
I have not. I realize you probably haven't, but any chance that you ever caught my live stream of JetX VR?
I did catch some of it, yes.
Okay. So this seems a lot like JetX.
Yep.
With definitely with higher fidelity graphics. the robots, they're well, the robots are kind of legless.
Yep.
The design kind of makes it look like they're not, but essentially it's a legless model, which we get a lot of in VR. But yeah, the arena gameplay seems very similar to Jet X, which again is not a bad thing, but with some additional complexity in the maps. The main thing to take away from it, it doesn't bother me if it's like Jet X. It's just like I mentioned, Overload, which again is the like spiritual successor to Descent 3, incredibly difficult to stay oriented inside an HMD in a 6 degree of freedom environment, particularly when I refuse to play with auto leveling. Um, I transitioned from that over to Jet X. So you would think that I was kind of already trained to operate in this environment. I found this even more challenging, trying to stay oriented and understanding where I was and remembering which way to point the VR touch controllers to move. So hang on to your butts, people, because this is going to be fairly interesting and challenging for people when they get thrown into this environment. If the gameplay, as it appears to be, is the same.
It did seem like the bots that you control, they
Yeah,
always were vertical. Okay, so
right,
so you can travel in any direction you want, but you'll never like end up tumbling or going upside down or whatever,
right.
which should help a lot.
Yeah, the challenge I found was the way, and I don't know how they're doing it. I mean, what would have made Jet X better is if the control was just using the analog sticks.
Oh yeah,
In Jet X, it was not. You pointed the controllers in a
yeah.
direction, and then the jet engine was like simulated to be on the back of the thing you were extending, and so you always moved in the direction you pointed, which was counterintuitive to me because I felt like Iron Man, right? That I move in the opposite direction that I'm pointing. So it was just a big paradigm shift. Um, that was the one tweak that I was like, man, this would be so much easier if it was just based on the analog sticks. So maybe that's what we'll get with Aerobots.
Yeah.
But it'll
We'll
be
have to
it'll
keep
be
an eye on
interesting to
that.
see how this goes. Yeah.
I gotta check. I thought I picked up JetX on sale. You know, you get these sales. You know, we should talk about the Steam sale. I really didn't pick up a lot of the games that I wanted on Steam sale, right? So I did this a video, which I posted over at the new Live from the Oasis channel, where I went through all our favorite games from Steam that were on sale. There was like 7 or 8 of them, and they're games that we play on a regular basis: Star Trek Bridge Crew, Trickster, and those games. Um, But when I started looking at the Steam sale at VR games, they were all like single player games, and I already have a
Okay.
backlog. So I picked up this one fun golfing game. It's like was $3. I was we're not going to play it on Live from the Oasis because Alexa's talking to me. Um, because because they didn't support Windows Mixed Reality, and a couple of our guys have that.
Ooh.
But did you pick up any VR games during the Steam sale, the summer sale?
I really didn't pick up any Steam games in the VR sale. Um, this 2019 is a very challenging year for us on the E2KG podcast in terms of. Um, I now look back after all my complaining and think maybe 2018 was a blessing. 2017 was a big year for game releases. The heat kind of started in February with Resident Evil 7's release, and it continued on throughout the year. Last year, there were it, for us, there was less than in the gaming market. You had a lot of big releases that were talked up, but really didn't stick the landing. So you had like Monster Hunter in February, which really wasn't the game for everybody that it was advertised to be. There was a long drop kind of throughout the summer. So we kind of it was a slower year 2018. 2019 is not that. There's a bumper crop of games, and so I'm really full and flush with games right now that we have to play for the podcast. But the other thing, maybe more pertinent, is, and it's a little non sequitur to VR, is I really didn't like the whole goofy team, the marketing shtick that the Steam sale was wrapped around. I can't even remember what it was. It was like a
Grand
race.
Prix, yeah.
Yes. So like that first advertising showed up to me in my email, and I'm like, what is this? I'm like, just put a bunch of games on sale, have them pop up in my wish list, and be done with it. It seemed like a very counter Epic maneuver, and I'm like, you're Valve. You don't need to do this. Just say there's a bunch of games on sale. Come buy them. And so that marketing tact really kind of turned me off. It felt too gimmicky and too shtickish. And so no, I wound up not. And I was just like, it's just I'll get around to buying games somewhere, or sometime.
There's this whole thing going on with Steam, and I've totally lost. I'm working full time. I got a full time family after work, so there's all this stuff going on with Steam, trading and points, and that I've never gotten into. But
Right.
apparently, I had 25,000 points, and when I
Okay.
went to check out, I was able to use 5,000 of them or 15,000 of them to save $5,
Okay.
which made me buy another game
Yeah. Yeah.
because but yeah, so there was awesome. I mean, best like I was telling everybody, these are the best prices you're gonna see
Yeah.
probably until the holiday. And
Yeah.
but I have so many games backed up, and with Defector coming out, plus I want to do Vader Immortal on the Rift because I did it on
Right.
the Quest. Plus I have like 3 games on the Quest that I haven't gotten to. I just started. What did I just start? Um, oh, Apex Construct. So that's what I'm working on now on the Quest. So just like time, it's time.
Yeah.
And we actually decided on the game show on Sunday nights to start doing No Man's Sky every other week.
Yeah. I saw that.
It's not even on VR yet, but we're just like we've been playing Elite Dangerous for over 3 years. We have three
Right.
seasons of videos, and felt the need to mix up Sunday night. But yeah, so all right, so you're kind of in the same boat with me. It's not a lot at the Steam sale for us.
Right. I will say we're going to get into it a little bit later, but I will say my current like VR probation period also played into it, like the fact that I was just not thirsty and hungry, and I didn't have it on my gaming gaming playlist for anything upcoming in VR, so that kind of played into it as well.
I hear that definitely. So this next one intrigued me. This was Spark got an update. Now this was made by CCP, who pulled out of VR development. They made the excellent E Valkyrie, which I started, but I never finished. And there's no way to like delete your save and start over, which is really weird. At least at the time, because I wanted to restart it 6 months ago and play it again. But excellent game, fun game. It's not Elite Dangerous, but it's more of a story based, kind of in the old, almost like a Wing Commander type of. It's
Right.
just mission story based, except you reincarnate. I don't know. But anyways, I was impressed to see that they added. Apparently, this is a very. I don't own this game, but it's a highly vaulted game, and they added some competition modes so that it can be
Okay.
played competitively. I was pretty impressed with this, and I think the guys over here at Upload VR. I don't. I'm still getting used to their new site.
Yeah, with the dark mode.
Yeah, it's not so much. It's like the I don't find it. I'm getting used to it. But anyways, they did a great summary down here. So if you're a big fan of this game, and I just love seeing developers come back to one of their older games and just make them better, so they last
Yeah,
longer.
and this supports full crossplay across all platforms and devices.
Yeah, which is very cool. I don't know if it's on. I don't think is it on the Quest. I don't think it was on the Quest,
Uh,
or it wasn't cross-buy on the Quest, which is why I didn't pick it up. I mean, I figure if I'm going to buy something for the Quest, might as well be cross-buy.
yeah, I thought there was reference. No, I guess not. I thought there was reference to that eventually it was coming to the Quest, but now I'm not seeing it. So it may have been on the last article or something. So yeah, so Quest users, it seems like you're out, but Rift S. Well, it says on Steam for all PC VR headsets. So Rift S, Vive, the Vive whole product line, and Windows Mixed Reality, I guess, as well as PSVR. Oh, so now I'm not getting your video or audio.
Uh-oh.
There it goes.
Sometimes when I cough and I flip the mic up,
Yeah, it doesn't
it doesn't
re-engage.
come back. Sorry.
Yeah,
Um,
no problem.
did you know the Steam app is back out on iOS? Like
Yeah,
they had
yeah,
pulled it last year.
right. Right.
And apparently they talked to me. Well, I tried it, super laggy. But like I had my computer wired into the wall. I had my iPad right there, 5G, 5 gig, 5G, and it was just too laggy. I couldn't play. But I say that because we were kind of talking about that when we were talking about the desktop, the virtual desktop, and
Yeah.
playing your
Yep.
PC games on your Quest. Well, recently a lot of people have sideloaded the old version, and they've been playing their PC VR games,
Okay.
which I didn't. When they said virtual desktop will let you play your PC games on your Quest, I thought they just meant PC games.
Right. 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 Right.
People are pretty, and it seems the most common thing people are doing is they'll set their computer up as a hotspot.
Okay.
Then they'll connect the Quest to the computer directly. So they're not even
Okay.
going through a router.
Okay.
And then
All
a
right.
lot of people are saying that it's a minimal lag.
Hmm.
So that may give us more information of why Oculus said no, we don't want that in the official store. You're going to pull that feature.
Right.
Because maybe they have some Quest feature or some Quest streaming from PC that they're going to do in the future. But I just wanted to pass that along. Anybody interested in trying that, just go up to Reddit and search on virtual desktop and Quest. I was pretty, I mean, there was quite a few people saying, yeah. We had talked about all the other, beta apps that you can sideload and,
Right. Right.
and I'm trying to think of the YouTuber who did a great walkthrough on uh, Skyrim VR, which is a great game. I would love to play on the Quest. And he's like, yeah, everything's so diluted, but apparently Virtual Desktop nailed it much better than those other apps. So I just, while we were kind of on that subject, hey, I jumped into this. This is there was a live stream from the guys over at Stormland. I'm sorry, Insomniac. They did a Stormland. This is a Rift exclusive Stormland stream. And so I jumped on it for about half of it. The guys were great, but I didn't realize that this was not a linear story-based game. The original the original launch trailer made it look like an awesome single-player co-op game. It turns out that the world is always evolving.
Okay.
So you go back, like different islands appear and different islands disappear in the Stormland. So I just thought it was interesting. I don't know if you've been following this one, but it's due out holiday 2019. So I'm
Hmm.
sure the if anybody's interested in this, I'm sure that live stream they went into a lot of the tools they use to generate the game, which was cool. But a lot of people are like show us gameplay, show us gameplay.
So this is interesting. This is Insomniac that did the Spider-Man game from last fall. So I guess this has to be a completely separate dev team that's working on this, and I wonder if that's a VR dedicated development team.
That's a good question. I mean, the guys who were on the live stream were all part of the development team. They talked about the previous games they had worked on, um, but it seems like they've been working on this for over a year. They've been really focused on this. It's a good-looking game. It looks like a fun game. I did not
Yeah,
like the E3 trailer as much as I liked the original trailer. So if anybody's new to this and you get a Rift and you're thinking about getting it, I would say check out the original trailer. I thought that was gave you a better idea of how the game progressed. But yeah, just want to bring it up. I was able to sit on on that, and I thought I'll just throw it out here.
yeah, that's very cool.
Um, what's next? Oh, this one is was big to my heart. I'm one of those people who would love to have a true VR MMO. There's only one VR MMO RPG on the market today, and it's Orbis VR. The problem is it's $40. Now I bought it when it was 30. I think I used a credit to buy it. Oculus was always having those things where if you help somebody or refer somebody, you get a credit. And it is cross-buy with the Quest, which is awesome. But I think the biggest thing about this is that now you can play to level 10 for free. So this is really harkening back, I think, to World of Warcraft and what they did early on to get users in.
All
Um,
right.
so that's good because $40 on a game that you may never play, that's kind of steep. So do you think I mean, I honestly think a lot of people are going to try this game now that we've been holding off. What do you think?
Well, it's sad to say, but notionally, this is the golden chalice of VR, right? Like the golden hook of VR is that it has the potential to immerse people. I mean, this goes back to all the science fiction stories, right? Of VR has always been that thing that you feared to a certain extent because there's this possibility that once you go under the helmet, the great exaggeration is once you go under the helmet, like you never come back, right? But it has the potential to cause a I don't know what I want to say, an anchoring effect that leads somebody to want to stay under the helmet longer. An MMO is the ultimate realization of that, right? Let me get you to put the helmet on, like, and stay here for 2 to 6 to 8 hours. Um, and as you mentioned, with no other real competitors on the market, I mean, Orbis VR only has to get it but so right. And then they're that one thing of that type of thing in a niche market. It has the potential to go over very well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they do. I still haven't jumped into it. I usually play my Quest offline. Um, but I'd love to. Now that it's level 10, we may even pick it up on live from the Oasis because it won't cost anybody anything to try it out.
Right.
So it may be something we can. It's tough getting 4 copies of a $40 game. I mean,
Right.
that's
Right.
a lot of dough. The channel does not bring in that kind of dough. Um, yeah. So I just wanted to throw that out. If anybody's didn't hear about that. Um, the Index, they released the CAD models for that, so people could make accessories, and then they pulled them back, and then they re-released them. Did you hear about that?
No.
I don't know. I don't know why they would have thought. They released the CAD models for everything, which to me I don't understand. Why would I need a CAD model for the knuckles?
Right.
But for the frunk, yeah, definitely. And a lot of people have already made little things that plug in there. I guess the biggest thing that I saw that I thought was hilarious was the fans that people were putting in the frunk. Let me see if I can pull that story up here. No, the link for that story died. But basically, people were designing fans, little fan kits to go, like from PC fans, but the smaller
Right.
ones, and just plugging them right into that USB port because the
Yeah.
things were getting,
Keep your face cool while you're gaming.
yeah, yeah. So that was kind of
Yeah.
I thought the best usage for that.
I see this guy with like the LED lights that light up
Yep,
on it.
which is cool.
Right. Right. The color mods for the touch. Yeah, I mean, I love anything to individualize and give your equipment like a unique spark, particularly for some of these guys who might be live streaming some of this stuff. So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, cool. I don't think I'm just looking at our news stories here. What's just jump over this one. So this is the our last story. You want to take this one? This is the Facebook exec on the Quest.
Yeah. So this was a statement from John Lax, who is he's Facebook's VP, I think, of VR AR, head of VR AR design at Facebook. He doesn't necessarily say whether he's a VP or not. I don't think. But he tweeted out that the Oculus Quest is the end of our first chapter of VR, and that what's next is where things really get interesting. The curious thing to me is, like, where does that mean? I don't want to hear about your what's next if it's 2020, right? So I'm curious as to whether or not this is a yet to be disclosed product release that could occur in the remaining of the calendar year. Um, so, but
So you don't think the
then
Rift S is a 2019 product? Because I'm thinking iPhone, iPhone 6, iPhone 6s, iPhone 7. So I'm thinking Rift S. That's the 2019 product. Did you not? You don't feel the same way, or do you?
well, it's just that he made this statement after the Rift S had already released. So his statement was Oculus Quest, which came out alongside the Rift S, is the end of our first chapter of VR. What's next is where things really get interesting. And this is a thing that he said 2 months after the release of the Quest and the Rift S. So I feel like whatever he's talking about is something that is yet to come out. Um, and my feeling is like, why would you say that in the summer of 2019 unless you had something else coming out later in 2019? Um, so so the article goes on to talk about things that were revealed at the F8 conference and things that Facebook has said specifically that they are working on. Varifocal lenses, eye tracking, which we talked about earlier tonight, finger tracking, face and body tracking, room sensing, and meshing. So, I mean, PC wireless capability. These are all things that Oculus has patents for, or has made official statements that they are working on. So, we would believe that at some point all of these will wind up finding their way into different Oculus products. Probably won't be any one headset that gets all of them, but again, just interesting in terms of things that are possibly in the mix and that are being staged for the release products. I mean, the big thing, and this probably is the thing that should be said for all of our like feelings and statements and potential dissatisfaction that we've expressed in terms of this generation. What we can tell is that either the fact of this generation, its existence, or whether or not this was just something always in the works, is that there's a lot of agitation and excitement and heat and sense of urgency around implementing progressive technology improvements on VR platforms for the next generation of 2.0 hardware. I have seen things saying that is not 2 years away, that we will start to see true next gen products as early as 2020. There may not be a lot going on now, but it is clear that this is a stepping stone to some advanced capabilities coming down the pike. Some of which we may see sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I'm very curious of what Samsung's working on. They're huge. Samsung is huge, and they make such great quality products. They released the Odyssey Plus, and there's a lot of rumors that they have a Gen 1.5 or Gen 2 product slated for the fall. So I'd be very interested to see what they have. I'm a big Samsung fan. Um, it still could be. There could be a Windows Mixed Reality 2.0 spec that comes out. The longer they go with the empty shelves, the longer I think that there's not. That Lenovo and Acer and Samsung and all these people are ready to do it on their own using Qualcomm specs and other specs that are out there, industry specs. And with all the different vendors making the lenses and the displays and all that now, look at Rift. They did it on their own. They didn't need a Microsoft. They didn't need anybody else. They just made their
Right.
own. So we'll see. It'll be great to see. Go ahead.
The weird thing for me is like WMR is a strange play, right? Like none of those console manufacturers. Again, to me, that was always a thing that only works if you bundle up an entire suite that is somehow attractive and provides some type of competitive capability, but that is also reliable and stable. And again, because of the dependency on an external Bluetooth component, I think that's at least as far as my experience, that's where the thing can fall down frequently. It's interesting. Those headsets at the end of the day don't provide the degree of advanced capabilities that a Rift or a Vive or some of the other headsets do, and so the only point of them existing competitively is for them to provide 70% of those more advanced headsets capabilities and be available at a significant price discount from Oculus, Rift and Vive, right? They need to come out and be like, hey, this is the thing that you can get to get the same capability, but for half of the price or 2/3 of the price.
I think really, if we go back in time to 2017, the only reason we have affordable Oculus Rift and Vives, the original Vives, the only reason they came down in price was because of
Okay.
Windows Mixed Reality. I mean, you think
Yeah,
about it;
I can see
those
that.
those list prices, I believe, were $399,
Right,
and
right.
they had higher resolution. Yeah, the Windows Mixed Reality controls, the wands, whatever, they're not as good as the touches, but they're decent. Like I said, when I started
Yeah,
playing with them, I just forget that I'm using them. They're a second nature. So I think I think they and the resolution was better than the Rift and the original
yeah,
Vive. So I think they really kind of helped bring the price down, help get a lot of people in the VR, and I think it was a
yeah.
good thing. Whether or not there's a version 2, I think it's a good thing. I got two of them. I don't regret buying either of them because I only paid $200 for each. But it'll just be interesting to see. I mean, the Cosmos, they may wait so long to release theirs that they get one up by Samsung in the fall.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, you don't necessarily have to answer this now, but come back. But then I guess my problem, I guess my concern is like, what does a Windows mixed reality headset do for Acer's bottom line? Like they have to sell like an incredibly small number of them for the rather large investment in a supply chain pipeline that gets them the lenses that they need to put in the thing. So then I'm like, okay, like how much money does this make me to sell like what 200 of these headsets, 500 of these, so it just appears to be very challenging. It seems like it's kind of the only thing you want to build if the Microsoft if Microsoft is planning on their own big marketing push for this and their own big support for this. And I just feel like that while WMR has steadily progressed, it has not been super aggressive um, in in any effort to have it come to a point where it establishes parity with Vive and Rift. So it's just an interesting play. I mean, but at the end, of it, like you mentioned, if the net result is there are 8 headsets on the market that cost 2/3 of Rift and Vive, even though maybe nobody buys them, right? It's still a good force of the market.
yeah, I think I think whether or not there's a Gen 2, I think Gen 1 did its job. I think it got a lot of people in who, the lower the budget, had lower horsepower, had higher resolution. Um, by Microsoft coming out with common elements, that means that all the different companies didn't have to do all the. And I gotta say, I think the Quest wouldn't be possible if there wasn't inside-out tracking, right? I think inside-out tracking made it portable. I mean, when before 2019, when I had to travel with VR, I took Windows Mixed Reality. I'm not taking my sensors with my Rift, as
Right.
much as I like my tough touch controllers. So I think I think it moved the market forward. I personally think that all the players who want to stay in VR will just develop their own spec, like HP did. They said, yeah, we're going to use your Trank and we're going to use everything else is going to be ours. And I think kind of Samsung has done that too. But any final stories? Um,
No, no, I don't have anything else.
well, I mean the guys we split up as you guys know. You're probably tired of me hearing me say this. We took the Gamer Show. We're making that channel just about space exploration, open world games like Elite Dangerous, No Man's Sky. VR Game Nights has its own channel, and Live from the Oasis has its own channel now on YouTube. They all interlink between each other and E2KG Network, because this is a collaboration between E2KG and the Gamer Show. And the reason I say this is tonight on Live to the Oasis, we played. I didn't publish it yet. I got to make a thumbnail. We played Star Trek Bridge Crew, and the last mission we did was against the Borg,
Oh
and
wow.
uh, very interesting. We didn't do very well at it, but
Right.
I really like the concept, so I'm going to talk the guys into doing that. I got to get all 4 guys there. I got to get 4 people there. It's because it's pretty intensive, and everybody needs to be firing on all cylinders. But check that
Right.
out.
Right.
You can see it in our link channels. You'll see Live from the Oasis. You'll see the Gamer Show. You'll see E2KG Network right here on the VR Game Nights show. Please leave us your comments. If you guys have comments, agree or disagree, we want to hear from you because we love hearing what other people think. We don't always agree, and we love hearing unique perspectives. So with that, any final words, Sir Aga?
No, not at all.
All right. Well, from the VR Game Nights, I'm Sir Gray. On behalf of Sir Aga, thank you for watching. We'll see you next week, same time and same place. Until next time, my friends. Peace.